Would you buy a 35-year-old Mercedes for just $4,000? Most people wouldn't. After all, it's old. It has outdated technology, no warranty, and probably hundreds of thousands of miles on the odometer. But that's exactly where this story gets strange, because some of these cars have driven over 500,000 miles, and their owners still trust them enough to drive them every single day. Not as collector's items, not as weekend toys, as everyday transportation. Now compare that to many modern products, cars that become too expensive to repair, phones that can't get new batteries, appliances that failed just a few years after the warranty expires. Everything around us seems smarter than ever. Yet somehow, it feels less dependable. So maybe the real question isn't, why is this old Mercedes still running? Maybe the better question is, what happened to everything else? Because this isn't really the story of a $4,000 Mercedes. It's the story of how we quietly stopped building things that were meant to stay with us for a lifetime. Walk around a Mercedes-Benz 190E, a W124, or almost any well-preserved Mercedes from the late 1980s, and you'll notice something unusual before the engine even starts. Close the door once. The sound is heavy, solid, confident. It isn't simply the noise of metal meeting metal. It's the sound of thousands of engineering decisions working together to create one simple feeling: confidence. During the 1980s, Mercedes engineers weren't chasing quarterly sales or short ownership cycles. Their reputation depended on something much more difficult to achieve: building cars that owners would still trust 20 or 30 years later. That philosophy shaped everything beneath the surface: thicker steel, generous safety margins, mechanical parts designed to survive years of use, components that could be removed, repaired, and installed again instead of being permanently sealed away. None of these cars were perfect. Rust appeared, rubber seals aged, suspension parts eventually wore out. Like every machine ever built, they needed maintenance, but maintenance was expected. Repair wasn't treated as failure. It was simply part of owning something valuable. That's why so many of these cars are still on the road today, with hundreds of thousands of miles behind them and many more still ahead. That single idea created a completely different relationship between people and the products they owned. A car wasn't expected to last until the warranty expired. It was expected to become part of a family's life, which raises an uncomfortable question. If engineers once knew exactly how to build products people could trust for decades, why don't we see that same philosophy nearly as often today? The surprising part is that the conversation doesn't stop with cars. In fact, once you leave the automotive world, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Spend enough time listening to ordinary people, and you'll hear remarkably similar stories told over and over again, not by collectors, not by historians, but by homeowners, mechanics, grandparents, and everyday families. One person talks about a freezer purchased in the 1950s that's still running every single day. Another remembers a toaster that belonged to their grandmother and continues to work decades later. Someone proudly keeps using a power drill inherited from their father. Others refuse to replace old coffee makers, printers, or hand tools because, despite their age, they continue doing exactly what they were built to do. These aren't luxury products. They're ordinary objects that quietly became extraordinary simply because they endured. Almost nobody praises these products for having more features. No one says they had better software or larger screens. Instead, people repeat one incredibly simple sentence: it still works. Those three words reveal something much deeper than nostalgia. Reliability creates trust, and trust creates attachment. When something serves a family for 20 or 30 years, it stops being just another appliance. It becomes part of the family's story. Perhaps that's why thousands of people from completely different backgrounds keep arriving at the same conclusion. Maybe the real issue isn't that modern engineers forgot how to build durable products. Maybe they were simply asked to build something else, And if that's true, then the biggest change over the past 30 years wasn't in our technology. It was in the system that decides what technology gets built in the first place. If engineers never forgot how to build products that last, then what actually changed? The answer wasn't hidden inside factories. It wasn't a breakthrough in material science. And it certainly wasn't because companies suddenly hired less talented engineers. The biggest change happened in the boardroom, because over the past few decades, many businesses stopped asking one simple question: how long can we make this product last? They started asking a different one: how often can we convince customers to buy the next one? That shift sounds subtle, but it changed almost everything. Imagine you're designing a washing machine. One version could reliably run for 30 years with occasional repairs. The other might last 10 years before replacement becomes cheaper than fixing it. From the customer's perspective, the first machine is clearly better. But from the perspective of long-term sales, the second machine creates something the first one doesn't: a guaranteed future customer. Without saying a single word, the business model quietly changed the definition of success. This wasn't because companies became evil overnight. Publicly traded corporations are built to grow. Every quarter, investors expect higher revenue than the quarter before. Every year, shareholders expect sales to increase. Eventually, a difficult question appears. What happens when customers stop buying because the products they already own still work perfectly? That's not an engineering problem, it's a business problem. And business problems often receive business solutions. That's why many people have started saying something that sounds almost backwards. I'm not rich enough to buy cheap products. At first, it seems like a contradiction. But think about it. Replacing the same appliance 3 times is often far more expensive than buying one durable product once. The higher price isn't always paid at the checkout. Sometimes it's paid slowly, replacement after replacement, repair after repair, until you realize the cheaper choice was never really cheaper at all. Once you notice this pattern, it begins appearing everywhere. Cars became more difficult to repair. Smartphones arrived with batteries glued permanently inside. Household appliances started using sealed components instead of replaceable ones. Software companies introduced subscriptions instead of one-time purchases. Even features that already existed suddenly required monthly payments. At first, each decision looked reasonable on its own. Together, they revealed a completely different direction. This is where a phrase has become increasingly common: planned obsolescence. The idea isn't necessarily that companies design products to fail on a specific day. The reality is often more subtle. Products are designed with limited repairability. Replacement parts become harder to find. Software support quietly disappears. Repair manuals aren't publicly available. Sometimes the product itself still works, but repairing it becomes so expensive or so inconvenient that buying a new one feels like the only practical option. And then something even more surprising happened. The product itself was no longer enough. Ownership gradually became a service. Navigation systems required subscriptions. Premium features could be activated or removed with software. Printers stopped working because of firmware updates. Smart devices depended on cloud servers that could disappear overnight. For the first time, buying something didn't always mean fully controlling it. You owned the hardware, but someone else often controlled how long it could keep doing its job. That's why this story was never really about Mercedes. The old Mercedes simply makes the change easier to see. It reminds us of a time when products were expected to become more valuable the longer they stayed in your life. Today, many products are designed around a different expectation. Not that they'll stay with you, but that, sooner or later, you'll be back to buy the next one. And once that idea becomes normal, the conversation is no longer about better engineering. It's about a completely different way of thinking about ownership itself. For most of the 20th century, buying something meant exactly what it sounded like. You paid for it, you took it home, you owned it. If it broke, you repaired it. If it still worked, you kept using it. No one expected a company to ask for permission every month before your own property could continue doing its job. That simple idea, ownership, was so normal that people rarely stopped to think about it. Today, that relationship is beginning to look very different. Think about how many things in your life now depend on subscriptions. Movies, music, software, cloud storage, navigation, even features inside some modern cars. Instead of paying once, we're increasingly paying over and over again just to keep using products we've already purchased. Little by little, ownership has been replaced by access. And access can be changed, restricted, or removed at any time. Cars have become one of the clearest examples of this shift. Modern vehicles are no longer just mechanical machines. They're computers on wheels. That brings incredible advantages, better safety, cleaner engines, smarter navigation, and features that engineers decades ago could never have imagined. But it also changes who remains in control after the sale. A software update can alter how a vehicle behaves. A subscription can unlock or disable certain features. A repair may require authorization from the manufacturer rather than the mechanic you've trusted for years. The car sitting in your driveway may legally belong to you, but parts of its functionality increasingly depend on someone else. Perhaps that's why so many people feel uncomfortable, even if they can't immediately explain why. They're not rejecting technology. They're questioning the trade-off. When convenience replaces control, what exactly are we giving up? One comment summed up that feeling perfectly. We used to be customers, now we're consumers. It's a short sentence, but hidden inside it is a much larger concern. Customers buy products, consumers continuously consume them. One relationship ends at the checkout, the other never really ends. For decades, progress meant giving people more independence. Cars became more reliable. Home appliances became easier to use. Technology saved time and reduced effort. Yet today, some of that independence feels like it's moving in the opposite direction. The more connected our products become, the more dependent we sometimes become on the companies behind them. And once you notice that pattern, another question naturally follows. If the system keeps moving this direction, who exactly is trying to move it back? The answer isn't coming from billion-dollar corporations. In many cases, it's coming from ordinary people. Mechanics who refuse to throw away perfectly repairable machines. Volunteers who gather on weekends to fix broken appliances for strangers. Engineers designing replacement parts that manufacturers no longer sell. Communities sharing repair manuals freely online so products can keep working years after official support has ended. Around the world, a quiet movement has been growing, not against technology, but against unnecessary waste. Walk into a repair cafe and you'll find something remarkable. An old lamp sits beside a laptop. A coffee machine waits next to a bicycle. A retired electrician helps someone repair a toaster. Across the room, another volunteer replaces a worn-out switch that costs only a few dollars. Many of these items would have ended up in a landfill. Instead, they leave with a second life. The goal isn't simply to save money, it's to prove that broken and unrepairable are not the same thing. Technology itself has also become part of the solution. Three-dimensional printing allows hobbyists to recreate plastic clips, knobs, gears, and brackets that disappeared from store shelves years ago. Independent mechanics share diagnostic software. Online communities document repairs step by step so anyone with patience and a few basic tools can follow along. Ironically, some of the newest technologies are now helping preserve some of the oldest products. Progress isn't the enemy. The real question is how we choose to use it. Perhaps that's why one of the most common comments in discussions about repair isn't about saving money at all. It's much simpler than that. Fix Fixing things makes you feel good. At first, that sounds almost sentimental, but it reflects something we've slowly forgotten. Repair creates connection. When you repair something, you understand it. When you understand it, you're more likely to value it, and when you value it, you're less likely to throw it away. That relationship can't be measured on a balance sheet, but it may be one of the most valuable things we've lost. Still, even passionate communities can only do so much. Repair cafes can't redesign entire industries. Independent mechanics can't rewrite corporate business models. If products are becoming more difficult to repair by design, can individual effort really change the future? Or does the next chapter of this story depend on something much bigger than any one person? Maybe the most surprising part of this story is that we already know how to build products that last. We never lost that knowledge. Modern engineers are more capable than ever before. Today's factories can manufacture parts with incredible precision. Materials are stronger. Software is smarter. Production is faster and more consistent than at any point in history. The problem isn't that we can't build durable products. The problem is that durability is no longer rewarded the way it once was. You can still find examples that prove it. Look at an old Toyota Land Cruiser still crossing deserts after hundreds of thousands of miles. A decades-old Hilux that continues working on farms every single day. Classic Mercedes sedans that remain dependable daily drivers long after many newer vehicles have disappeared from the road. Even outside the automotive world, well-built mechanical watches, cast-iron cookware, quality hand tools, and carefully maintained appliances continue serving families year after year. These products don't survive because they're lucky. They survive because someone intentionally designed them with longevity in mind. Interestingly, many younger people are beginning to appreciate that philosophy again. Vintage furniture has become desirable. Mechanical watches are enjoying a revival. Repair videos attract millions of views online. Right-to-repair movements continue gaining support in more countries. People are searching flea markets instead of shopping malls. They're restoring old tools instead of replacing them, not because they reject innovation, but because they're rediscovering something previous generations understood instinctively. The cheapest product isn't always the one with the lowest price. Sometimes it's the one you never have to replace. One comment captured that idea perfectly. Imagine combining modern technology with old-fashioned quality. That's a future worth imagining. Not a return to the past, not abandoning innovation, but bringing together the best of both worlds, the intelligence of modern engineering, with the long-term thinking that once defined great manufacturing. Because progress shouldn't force us to choose between advanced technology and lasting quality. Real progress should give us both. That possibility changes the entire conversation. This isn't a story about wishing for the good old days. It's about asking whether we've accidentally accepted a false choice, as if products must either be innovative or durable. Perhaps the real challenge isn't inventing better technology. Perhaps it's deciding what we actually want that technology to achieve. And that leads to one final question. If we already know how to build products that can last for decades, what exactly have we been losing all this time? At the beginning of this story, the hero looked like an old Mercedes. By now, it's probably clear that the car was never the real subject. It was simply the easiest place to notice a much larger change, because this story could just as easily have started with a refrigerator, or a washing machine, or a toolbox, or the coffee maker sitting on your kitchen counter. The objects are different. The pattern is the same. For generations, buying something meant making a promise to the future. You saved your money, you chose carefully, you expected that purchase to stay with your family for years, sometimes even decades. The object slowly became woven into everyday life. It witnessed birthdays, road trips, family dinners, weekend repairs in the garage. Over time, it stopped being just another product. It became part of your personal history. When products last, they collect memories. When products are disposable, memories become disposable too. Perhaps that's why so many people feel a quiet sense of loss that has nothing to do with technology itself. It's the feeling that fewer things are truly ours. We lease instead of own. We subscribe instead of buy. We replace instead of repair. And without realizing it, we've begun treating permanence as something old-fashioned. Yet permanence was never the problem. It was one of the greatest sources of trust, because every product built to last sends a simple message to its owner. We expect this to stay with you. That message is becoming increasingly rare. So maybe the question isn't whether an old Mercedes is better than a new one, or whether the past was somehow perfect. Every generation improves some things and sacrifices others. The real question is much simpler. When did we stop expecting the things we buy to stay with us? And if we no longer expect products to last, will we eventually stop expecting relationships, communities, and even institutions to last as well? Because every society is shaped by what it chooses to build. Not just buildings, not just machines, but expectations. And perhaps the most valuable thing we ever built wasn't a car, a refrigerator, or a power tool. It was the belief that something made with care could earn a place in our lives for decades. Maybe that's the part worth rebuilding,